So what exactly, in your words, is a Kundalini awakening? Because everybody got their own interpretation. And just for you answer that, my research is telling me if you have a Kundalini awakening, it's kind of like similar to an out-of-body experience. It ain't like a lot of people saying, equating it to just simple stuff like, but I think this is deeper than when the ancestors was talking about this serpent rising. And we know, because, go, you got it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So big Kunda, as I call it, doesn't start off big. So the Kundalini, while runs through everything, and each vessel is at the measure of that vessel, because that is literally what you're increasing the degrees of. So your spine is like like that old thermometer, and Kundalini is that red dot going up. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So most people, or if not everybody, unless you just came in like with it like that, have baby Kundalini at first. So there's a small Kundalini tucked in the coccyx of the spine. And the goal is basically that term, how to train your dragon. The goal in the world was to how to train your Kundalini until eventually you can ride your Kundalini. Because your Kundalini is a vehicle, it amongst many other things. It's like the most advanced technology. It's not only the vehicle, it also contains all the maps. It also contains the protective field to get you through what you would think is more or less the folds of hyperspace. You know what I mean? It's like, and what I mean by that is not so much as like a warrior conflict of things, but it knows how to assume the shape and to how to get through the filter or the nets. So each of these dimensions actually do really have what we would say is geometry connected to them. And so when you're passing through these folds, the Kundalini assumes the geometry to get through that particular part. It's like that toy we used to have as a kid where you put the star in and then you put the circle in and then all of it will go into the center of the toy. So when you're passing through different realms, you need to assume the shape or the size that it takes to pass through that filter. And the higher you go, the smaller you need to be. So that's why lethargic, large, dense, heavy things don't pass into higher planes, because it can't get through the filter. And this is why, I'm a big advocate of even hydrogen, roll with the winners. You can drink hydrogen, and hydrogen teaches all of the parts of the body how to be themselves again. You see what I mean? But you would imagine from a noble element that's kind of what we're talking about here. We're talking about making friends with the components that really control and fill up the entire reality. So Kundalini, just from the basic level, you can pull everything from the periodic table from the air if you can filter properly. And that's why that breathing techniques, they teach you how to breathe prana, because prana is this condensed energetic air that then feeds Kundalini. It allows it to grow. But then, there's more to this, because, it's not like everybody should be turning on Kundalini right away, right? Because we know there's Kundalini syndrome, and Kundalini could drive folks crazy, because when Kundalini first moves from the coccyx, it goes right into the root chakra first. Or if you understand they are mostly in the OTO, in the Golden Dawn. Their rituals are all inverted. So they send Kundalini into the feet. Okay, so they're sending Kundalini down. Versus Kundalini actually is an expansive force. So it's going down to the feet and up, and it's supposed to do that in equal measure. And when you touch that next chakra, when you enter into that world, you're basically entering into, at first, the past, because the chakra system until you're activated is basically locked. And when you get into that chakra, it's like you're getting into another world, but everything that would have been your klipoth, or basically your shade, or your shadim, or your shaddai, or your shadow in that world, will try to kill you. It will try to become your nemesis. And the weird part about this is that it be weird challenges.
That etymology was crazy with shaddai and shadow. I just got to say that. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. And this thing as a nemesis is like, it's basically that challenge of that. Are we going to repeat again, and that's what they were saying. The moon is instinct. It's like you repeating the same way you handle everything, versus what the sun is like inspiration to do it differently. And when you open up that world, because I gotta say for real that, you know, I like to say that it's training, but for sure we're all here for something happened. And I know we kind of, some people love to play the victim in the story. They stole all my shit. And never maybe think that maybe it was your ancestors that stole everything. I don't know. But either way, we have something going on in the DNA that there's a debt there. And whether it's just from being in matrices, buying into systems like this, and then racking up too much debt in their credit-based contract system that they got with ISIS and all the rest of the stuff that they playing around with, or maybe it could be something more like an energetic debt that needs to be dissolved. And see, that's why when the whole Naga thing started, it was basically about coming forth by day. It was about that these Nagas were in the underworld. That's why the books that the Hindus write, they talk about like Vasuki, right? Vasuki was like a king in the underworld. He had all of these Nagas underneath him, right? And so coming forward by the day would be basically when you finally break Midgard, or when you finally break the middle plane. Now you leave that's like what they call ground zero or more ocean. Oh my goodness, how am I forgetting this? It's basically where the ocean begins, right? Sea level.
Sea level.
Yeah. I don't need to be out there if I can't pop that off real fast. But sea level. See, so where sea level begins is Midgard, and that's why there's a shore. The shore is the law. And the shore, you know, see the shore begins. So when the tide moves all the way back, that part that it moves all the way to is the shore. And that's why if you go all the way out into the ocean on low tide, you will see everybody out there because you're so deep in the ocean. But by high tide, that is all the way above your head, what you're actually standing in. So these are how the dimensions are designed. So Saturnalian kingdoms, which are actually in the ocean, the Africans already proved this, were all netherworld kingdoms in the water, right? And they were hollowed out in a way where like you would go into a bubble if you wanted to breathe air. Some don't need that, right? And then many of these beings, it's like really like an old fish. So there's a smell, you know, it's different, right? It's just different. I say it like that. So in that respect, so when you left the netherworld, if you may, I lost one of my nights, so that's what happens when you talk about the netherworld, you lose your lights. So when you leave the netherworld, so the object is that like a Messiah, if you may, would try to absolve you from your debts by doing the process that they talk about in the Quran, that the original Quran, when you read it, jinn hear it and they can be convinced, meaning that it's like when you're giving off knowledge and wisdom and gnosis and energy, other beings that are in what you would call the invisible plane, which is all around us, they kind of can get inspired by you and change their ways by you. And that's how powerful men and women are, like what they do. Other entities, especially when this is so crazy, yo. Not on an advanced level, and they just be looking at you doing things and they start mimicking what you're doing. So this is what a Messiah is to basically do things that others start mimicking that raise them out of the netherworld.